So you know what sucks is the recording just cut off after 15 minutes, which is such a pain because I've been talking for so long. But you know what? We're going to get right back into it. So, the Demon King turns everybody into kids. We know that. Um, and that sucks, obviously. The only characters that are actually relevant, I will say, is like we get to see everybody get turned into kids. Anybody who's related to Goku, we see them all get turned into kids. We see Master Roshi as a child, which is like, whoa, he's so old. We've never seen him like that. But the only ones that are relevant are like Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Bulma, right? And so they get turned into children, and they're like, well, we gotta go to the demon world and explore the demon world and see what that's about. This sucks so much because I talked about so many things and I don't know what's going to be repetitive and what's not. But um so I do like that they're exploring the demon realm because this is something that was created by Akira Toriyama and we get to explore it more, and that's fun. I feel like I said that already. But anyways, I'm not going to explain the whole story. I think I mentioned that. I'm going to just talk about the parts that I think are kind of interesting or that I have strong opinions on. So everybody's a kid, and part of what they have to do now as children is figure out how to beat them, how to beat the big bads, how to get Dende back and beat all the enemies that they're going to come across while they are still children. And so obviously people have concerns about this because this is a shonen anime. It is arguably the shonen anime. When you watch shonen, you're here for the fights. You want to see people punch each other. You want to see fun fights between characters, see people progress in the story. You want to see them get stronger. You get bigger attacks. You get more fighting happening, which is super cool and interesting and fun. And obviously the story also has to be interesting to a point, but like for the most part, if the fights are cool, you kind of don't really care about anything else. I'm looking at you, the Fate series. That's so goddamn confusing. But like every argument you're like, but check out this animation though, check out these fights. And it's like, yeah, but I have no idea what's going on. But that's another video. Um, so you want to see the characters get stronger, you want to see the fights get more interesting, but when you take a character that you've already seen who is strong and cool and impressive and you make them weaker, it feels not as interesting. You're not as interested in watching it, and that's partly why people didn't like GT, because it's like, I know how strong Goku is. I know he can beat almost everybody that he's currently interacting with, and yet he's not, because he got turned into a child, so his power level is lower. His body is smaller, and as a fighter you have to understand your depth perception and how long your limbs are in order to like make your hits actually make contact. And that's part of Daima. You know, part of the story is like, you know, one of the, it's not really, I was going to say an arc, but like the show's like 20 episodes. I don't even know if you could say there's multiple arcs in Daima. But like that's part of it, is learning how to fight in a child body again, like like in order to use his child. But I don't, I don't like saying child body. Um, it doesn't feel good. When he's in this new form, quote unquote, um, Goku has to learn how to fight again because like he's used to being an adult-sized man, and now he's got these little stubby limbs. Um, it doesn't feel as interesting now, right? His power level is lower, his body is smaller, so he's going to be fighting enemies that are like nothing to him. But he's going to be like at least a little bit struggling because of these like nerfs to his fighting ability. And so that's going to be difficult to deal with for him to a certain extent. Like he learns pretty quick, but at least for the viewer, you're like, why do I want to watch this? Why do I want to see this character who I know is strong and powerful now be nerfed and like fight guys that he was fighting at like the beginning of the series, or even weaker than the beginning of the series. Because honestly, I would argue some of the first couple of demons that he interacts with and fights in the demon realm, they're probably weaker than like the guys he was fighting in the first Tenkaichi tournament when he was like a literal child and not just a transformed child. So it's like, I don't blame people for seeing the series and being like, I'm not watching this. I don't care about weak Goku. I want to see him progress past where he is. Because especially if you're a manga reader and you're keeping up with the Dragon Ball Super manga, or at least you've kept up with it because it's been stopped for a while. But it might be coming back. Possibly. I've been seeing clips of like the new chapter that's being made. You're like, I want to see him go further. He's progressed beyond even the last point we've seen in the last anime episode that's been made. So I want to see more of that. But it's like, now we're seeing him backtrack. Like, we don't even see him go Super Saiyan for a little bit. Like, what's the point? But I think there is a point to it. And for the casual viewer, I think it's reasonable to be like, I'm not going to watch this. I have no interest in this. I don't blame you. But if you are a Dragon Ball enjoyer, show the meme of the Chad versus the Virgin here, of casual anime watcher, Dragon Ball enjoyer. I think you'd enjoy it. I think there's stuff in Dragon Ball Daima that you would actually enjoy. Because not only is this Akira Toriyama actually doing it, it's not GT, where it's nothing matters and it's all kind of dumb. This is Akira Toriyama as he wanted it. And I think we can see throughout the Dragon Ball Z series that like a lot of what we saw in Dragon Ball Z was influenced by like editors and fans and, you know, various audiences that Akira Toriyama was like, I gotta kind of appeal to these people and make it more interesting for them. Like we can look at the Android and Cell sagas, in that, you know, initially Akira Toriyama just wanted androids 19 and 20 to be like the main antagonist. Again, if you haven't seen Dragon Ball, this is not going to make any sense to you. But basically, the first two antagonists introduced in this arc are these two androids that Future Trunks came and was like, yo, you gotta be prepared. These guys are gonna mess you up. And then I believe it was Akira Toriyama, one of Akira Toriyama's editors was like, nah, this can't be it. Like, an old guy and like a porcelain doll are the main two antagonists. Nah. We gotta amp it up. And he's like, okay, I'll make two more androids. And he's like, nah, we don't care about them. Make some more. And he's like, okay, I'll make this other android that's Cell. And he's gonna go to the second form, and that's his all-powerful form. And he's like, this second form sucks, dude. This looks terrible. What's going on with his lips, man? Nah, you gotta do something new. And he's like, fine. I will make perfect Cell. And he will be perfect. And he's like, now that is what I'm talking about. So it was a lot of input. It was a lot of editing. It wasn't what some might say was like Akira Toriyama's original view of what the series could be, or what it should be. And so Daima probably has some influence, but like for the most part, as far as we know, this is what Akira Toriyama wanted. He was coming back to original Dragon Ball with this series. He was like, I miss when Goku was a kid. He would have these fights that are cool and interesting, but like he is just a silly little guy, you know, experiencing the world for the first time, because that's kind of what Dragon Ball was Goku was just this kid that only knew like the little hut that he lived in and his grandpa, and it wasn't until Bulma came along after his grandpa died that like he could go and explore the world and meet all these fun and interesting characters and fight these people that were so much stronger than he ever realized people could be. And And I think it really comes back to that in Daima. I think this is Akira Toriyama's way of being like, you know, obviously Goku has grown. He's fought, enemies that are so much stronger than could have ever been imagined by a young Goku. He's gone to space. He's fought androids. And, like, don't even get me started on Super. So, this was kind of his way of coming back to kind of original Goku. And that original world that he created. And so I like that. I think that's interesting. And I think Dragon Ball enjoyers would also find that interesting. Maybe you're a power scale fanboy and you're like, no, I just want to see how strong Goku can get so I can talk to my local Superman fanboy and rub it in his face that Goku's still stronger or he's continuing to get stronger. But if you like the series as a whole, if you like Akira Toriyama's ideas, I think you'll like Daima. And so that's kind of the major theme of it. But I also have some thoughts about, like, the plot, and so I'll continue on with that a little bit. So obviously all the characters get turned into kids. Goku goes to the demon realm. He explores it. He interacts with a lot of characters. Most of the characters, I would say, are, like, fine. Like, none of them really kind of, like, they're not going to be long-lasting fan favorites or anything. Like, they're all just kind of okay. But, like, I like seeing Goku's progression. I like seeing Vegeta's progression. I love Vegeta. He is my favorite character in the Dragon Ball series, and I hate that he's constantly just the butt end of the joke. Like, the whole, like, Vegeta can never beat a main antagonist. His job is to go in, be confident, maybe do well for a little bit, but inevitably gets beaten, and then Goku comes in and saves the day. It's just tough being being a Vegeta fan, not being a Goku fan. Goku fans are always winning. But I like what Vegeta does in this. If you're a Piccolo fan, I'm so sorry. Piccolo's involved in the story more than, like, most other characters. More than more than any of the other characters. Like, if you're a TN fan or even like a Gohan, oh my god, poor Gohan doesn't even get shown in the series after being so relevant in the Buu saga. But, like, Piccolo just doesn't do anything. He's involved in the final fight, but, like, barely. It kind of misses the mark. But anyways, I like what they do with some of the characters in the story. There is some fan service, and I don't mean fairy tale-esque fan service or One Piece-esque fan service. I mean, like, I'll talk about it when we get to it. But basically, Goku gets to the demon realm. He meets some characters. He starts to explore it. It's very interesting. He's starting to understand, like, how to fight in this new form that he has, or technically old form, whatever you want to call it. And he's just kind of feeling out how strong everybody's in the demon realm. And he's like, okay, nobody actually really can stand up to me here. Until he gets to, like, the bug dudes, the bug statues that guard the Dragon Balls. And those fights are beautiful. Oh my god, that first fight that he has with the first, are they called tatami is the mat, but I think it's something similar to that. But he has that first fight. Oh, it's so cool to watch. Like, I can't talk about enough how I wish and I hope that if they ever come back with a Dragon Ball Super anime and they go into, like, the Granola arc or anything further, that they use this animation style and they take their time with it. Like, I love that One Piece is basically weekly, but man, when, like, I wish they would do this Like, take 6 months off, animate it so that it's incredibly beautiful, and then come back to it. I don't mind the wait. I've been waiting on sequel series for years. I watched Attack on Titan the first year it came out on Netflix, and then waited whatever, like 4 years for season two. I'll wait. Make it look good. Um, the animation looks so good. Such a good fight. He fights Glorio, goes Super Saiyan. That is also a beautifully animated fight, and so I really enjoyed that. I kind of lost what I was talking about, but that was cool. I liked seeing Goku do that. Eventually, the other characters show up. We get Bulma, and we get Vegeta, and we get Piccolo. They eventually show up, and they join the group. There's some nonsense in between getting Goku and Vegeta to join up. There's a lot of weird stuff about like them finding planes to travel around, even though they can all fly, but like the air is denser, so we can't fly as much. It's kind of dumb, but like, whatever, man. I don't know. It's kind of stupid. Like, there were definitely some fights in the show that was like, this is just kind of dumb. Like, obviously the characters can win this fight. I don't know why we're having it. We're making a lot of conflicts that don't need to be there. But one point I have to make. I have to make this point because I was so... every episode that I watched of Daima as it was coming out, I was theory crafting. I was trying to see where the series was going. I was like, I have some ideas of what's going to happen. So I'll talk about, like, what happened, what I thought was going to happen, and then what actually happened, and whether or not I liked it. Most of the time, I didn't like it. At least for the stuff that I predicted. So, for one, Goku goes into this little shop, and in this shop, they have bugs. And these bugs do various effects based on what kind of bug they are. I don't know. It was weird. But, like, it was basically their kind of substitute for sensu beans, in that the sensu beans in the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z series are these, like, healing items, basically. Like a hyper potion for Pokemon. In that you eat this bean and suddenly you're cured of all damage and wounds and whatever. Not diseases always, because it didn't work on the heart disease that Goku had. But, like, that was their way of being like, we don't have sensu beans here, but here's our other healing item that we're going to use in order to, like, progress the story after one of our characters gets beaten really badly. And I'm like, sure, fine. Yeah, I don't care. But then, I don't know why they added this. This was such a pain. They added a bug that would do fusion. And, oh God, I feel so strongly about this. Because I'm like, oh, no way. They have a fusion bug. So it's like, if you watch Dragon Ball Z, the Portare earring fusion between Goku and Vegeta made Vegito. Huge. Awesome. Love that. In the movie against Janemba, you get the fusion dance between Goku and Vegeta getting Gogeta. I'm not going to talk about Trunks and Goten going to Gotenks, because whatever. I have many strong opinions on that. But focus on Goku and Vegeta. I'm like, oh, okay. And then eventually they brought Vegito into Dragon Ball Super and even Gogeta in the Broly movie. And I was like, oh my God. They're going to do fusion for the final fight. It's going to be Goku and Vegeta, probably. I mean, if they decided to, like, have Piccolo fuse with one of them, I'm down. Like, that sounds cool. Yeah, why not? Let's get multiple fusions. I was so interested in that. I was like, okay, the Portara earrings make Vegito. The fusion dance makes Gogeta. What is the bug gonna do? Is it gonna make Vegito Gogeta, or is it gonna make a new thing? I don't even know how they would combine the names to make that. Vagokuta. I don't know. Something like that. I was so excited. And if you haven't seen the show, you probably know where I'm going with this. They didn't do anything. They didn't add any fusion. They didn't use the bugs. Oh no, my headphones are going off again. Um, I don't know why the headphones just go off on their own, but I'm still recording this time. Thank God. Um, and so I was so disappointed. Like, why would you? Why Akira Toriyama? You are in your grave now, but why did you add a thing that has fusion and not do anything with it in your story? I'm so frustrated. Because, like, could they do a Daima season 2? Probably. I don't know. I don't really see the point. They kind of did everything in the demon realm. They fought the new king of the demons, and then they appointed a new. I'm getting ahead of myself, but like, it's, you basically blue balled anyone watching of like, hey, by the way, fusion is an option, and we're like, whoa, and then just never touched it again. So frustrating. So I didn't like that, obviously. Um, but anyways, story progresses. They continue on. They have to find the three Dragon Balls in the Demon Realm. They expand on the lore of the whole Dragon Ball universe, because obviously in Dragon Ball Super, like, here's kind of the progression. It went from Dragon Ball, which was mainly just Goku exploring like Earth or whatever they call the world of Dragon Ball, um, and the various fighters that live there. And King Piccolo, the demon, is kind of like the big bad of the whole world, and he's from the demon realm. We learn that. Then we move on to Dragon Ball Z, and it's more space related. We're like, okay, we've explored Earth, we fought everybody on Earth who is like relatively strong, but Goku's now stronger than pretty much anyone. It's space time. Goku's brother shows up. He's from space, and he's like, Goku, you're an alien. And he's like, I'm a what? And he's like, I'm taking your kid. And you're like, why would you do that? And then Piccolo will kill you. And it's like, okay. And then they go into space, and it's like, Piccolo, you're also an alien. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I'm a demon. He's like, no, there's a whole planet of you guys, and so your demon dad came from that planet. I don't know why he called himself a demon, but he was an alien. Piccolo's like, got it. Okay. Then, technically, Dragon Ball Super comes out after that, and it's like, oh, you thought your space was cool? What if we went to an entirely different universe? And also, we're getting mythical with it. We're fighting gods. And it's like, what? Hold on. We're getting multiversal up in here. But then Dragon Ball Daima is like, hey man, let's take a step back. You've been throughout your universe. You've been to other universes. But have you been to the other, like, worlds in your own universe? And it's like, yes, actually, we have. It's like, okay, but what about the demon realm? It's like, well, I mean, we fought Dabura. Like, no. We gotta go there and see what's up with that. So that was Daima. But it expands on it even more in that it's like, hey, remember how King Piccolo, current Piccolo's dad, but they kept the same name, um, said he was a demon even though he was an alien? Joke's on you, those aliens were actually demons. You got double psyched out in that apparently Namekians, which is what Piccolo is, came from the demon realm. There, and you can tell something is from the demon realm because they have pointy ears. And so all of the Namekians and also all of the gods, the Shins, are also from the demon realm, which like brings into question, okay, so is every Shin from Universe 7, I think it is, the Universe 7 demon realm? Or are, like, does each universe have its own demon realm that each Shin comes from? I don't know. It's a bit confusing. But basically, the Namekians started in the demon realm. Most of the Namekians then left the demon realm, founded a new planet, Planet Namek, and then some Namekians left, and which was Dad Piccolo, who got split into Kami, who then Dad Piccolo gave birth to young Piccolo. Dad Piccolo died, and then young Piccolo absorbed the Kami, who was the other half of Dad. It's so confusing. But I liked that it built on the lore. I liked that now we know more about it. And like, I'm not opposed to any pointy ear character coming from the demon realm. Sure, why not? Shins and Namekians, they're from the demon realm, but then they left and then they colonized space. Why not? Although the Shin thing still confuses me about, like, how does that relate to the other universes? I was like, cool. Alright, building on the lore. So there's Namekians in the demon realm. They also made Dragon Balls, because apparently only Namekians know how to make Dragon Balls. So there's 3 Dragon Balls, and Goku and friends are going to go around, collect the 3 Dragon Balls to wish to be turned back into adults, and then get Dende and get out of there. That was their whole goal. So they went around and fight the 3 Tamagamis? I don't know. Maybe it is Tamagamis. But anyways, Goku fights the first one. Incredible fight. So well choreographed. So interesting. Love that. Then we get the second Tamagami, and then Vegeta fights it. And I'm not gonna lie, Vegeta was kind of struggling, and I'm like, Vegeta, you're not doing us any favors. Us Vegeta fans out here, our stocks are low. But then he does something incredible. We get to see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta for the first time. And I'm losing it. Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Finally we get to see this form that Vegeta was always just like, that's a stupid form, I don't want to do that. I'm like, but you kind of want to do it, right? Like, we never got to see it in original Dragon Ball. We never saw it in Dragon Ball Super. He just skipped right over it. And he's like, no, I'm going straight to Super Saiyan Blue. And I'm like, you're not doing Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan God with the red hair? But then he eventually did do Super Saiyan God in the movie. And it's like, oh, finally. That's cool. But he does Super Saiyan 3. It is as a child, so it's kind of like, But he does Super Saiyan 3, and then he starts to just dominate the fight. I will say he got kind of screwed over because the one old Namekian who like made these Demon Realm Dragon Balls was like, what if I just buff this guy a little bit? What if I just like mid-fight make him stronger? And it's like, so it does make what Vegeta does a little more interesting, because it's like, well, obviously he's going to have to power up to a stronger point than Goku did for the first one because he's stronger than the other one. But it just didn't make Vegeta look very good, and honestly the whole series didn't make Vegeta look very good. He had his moments where he had his fights, he was arrogant, but like, as Totally Not Mark said in his review of the series, like, there's no banter. Vegeta loves to talk. He loves to talk down to his enemies, especially if he's winning. Like, he's not just going to sit there and be like, ugh, boring. He's going to make fun of them. That's what he does. And he just didn't in, like, any of his fights. He was just kind of like, meh, I fight silently. And I'm like, that's not his MO. Like, that's a Piccolo thing. Piccolo didn't do anything. Sorry to the Piccolo fans. But it's still cool to see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. And so that's what I mean in that, like, there was fan service in Dragon Ball Daima, not in the way that, like, other shows would do, where it's like women. It's just like, these are things that we've wanted to see forever and just never got shown. And so Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is one. And then eventually, we're just going to skip ahead because forget the other stuff. The other stuff is honestly kind of boring. Again, it's like they're fighting characters that we know that are more powerful than, so it's like there's kind of no stakes. It feels like it's just not that interesting. And so we skip ahead. They get most of the Dragon Balls. We do eventually get to see adult Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. and that is hype. It's so hype. But before we get to the final fight, I want to come back to the fusion thing, because partway through the series, again, this show's like 20 episodes. I would still recommend it. I still enjoyed it. And it's short enough that I would recommend it to kind of anybody who's interested in Dragon Ball. Like, check it out, why not? Still very well animated. Story's fine. We get partway through the introduction of a new character. There's Arene Sue, who is like this evil witch that is sister to the Supreme Kai. And she decides she's going to make a new big bad. She's going to make, like, she saw Boo get defeated. She went in, collected some Boo DNA or whatever he's made of, and then was like, I'm going to make a new, stronger one. Or as far as we know, a stronger one. And she mixed it with a Cyberman. And I'm like, a little callback. We love callbacks. So, mixing Boo with Cyberman, I don't think that actually would make anything stronger, because it's like Cybermen are so weak. Like in original Dragon Ball Z, crazy strong. Like, I mean, they annihilated Yamcha. But like, she was like, I'm gonna mix Cybermen and Boo, and I'm gonna make a new, stronger fighter. And I'm like, interesting, cool. So she does that, and she makes, I think it's Ku. And so it's basically a green Boo. A green, kind of evil Boo. But, like, he's actually kind of chill. And he fights the other Tamagamagami. And he loses. He's like, he fights him for a bit, and he's like, yeah, this guy's stronger. I don't know. I can't do it. Which blows my mind. Is it a funny bit? Yes, obviously, if we're taking this series to kind of be, we're coming back to original Dragon Ball. There's a lot of comedy in the series, even if nowadays we're kind of like, oh, most of your comedies kind of just like pervert stuff, or like, dirty jokes or whatever, or just kind of dumb humor. Some of it's still funny. And so, like, it was kind of funny to be like, I've made this new, stronger enemy. This is going to be the big bad of the series. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to lie, fam. I just can't. He's too strong. Even though we just saw Goku beat the other one pretty, like, relatively easy. Like, he went Super Saiyan, but, like, he went Super Saiyan kind of as, like, a last resort, and then, like, kind of dominated. So, as far as we can tell, if we're assuming that the Dragon Ball Guardians, which is what we're going to call them now, are, like, relatively equal, and there's not, like, an order to do them in, maybe you could say that, like, the one from the first Demon Realm, because there's 3, is the weakest, and then the third is the strongest. Sure, if you want to make that argument, fine. My assumption is they're all probably relatively the same strength. That would mean that Majin Ku, this new, stronger version of Boo, is less strong than a base Super Saiyan child Goku? That's not intimidating at all. What's even the point? I don't know. And so, Arinsu then decides, I'm like, well, I clearly messed up somewhere, so I gotta do this again. So she decides, I'm going to make a second Boo clone Cyberman man, and this one is more similar to kind of Fat Boo, in that he's fat, but he's stronger also. So then we have, and his name is Do, I believe. So now we have Ku and Do. Ku, relatively smarter, but not as, like, inclined to fight, and Do, who is pretty dumb, pretty food motivated, but is definitely strong. So we see his fight against the third Dragon Ball Guardian, and you can see that he's not taking it very seriously, um, but he's winning the fight. Inevitably, he wins the fight, and he has like it's very creative too, because if you don't know about Boo, he's kind of just like a bubblegum guy. So he's very bendy. You can like shoot holes in him, and he'll just grow back. It's a very interesting character to fight, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. And so you get to see that in this fight. You get to see him be a bit more creative in like the different attacks he can do and how he avoids attacks. And I think that's cool. It's obviously very silly. There's a lot of moments where it's like, okay, that was pretty. He's not really taking this seriously. But that's kind of cool, right? Because as far as we know, the Dragon Ball Guardians are the strongest characters in the universe, because we've been told that like nobody's gotten these Dragon Balls previously because nobody can beat these Guardian guys. Um, and so that makes it intriguing of like, okay, they are the top dogs, and this guy who was just created is kind of just goofing around and still winning and won. Um, but my complaint about this is that we go back to the fusion conversation, because this was still back when I'm like, oh, there's still the opportunity for Vegeta and Goku, or maybe even Piccolo, getting involved and fusing. And it's like now we have two versions of Boo, right? We have Ku and Do. And so like we have I'm sorry to Piccolo. He's just not involved in the conversation. We have Goku and Vegeta, and we have Ku and Do. And we know that bug fusion guys are a possibility. We also know that one aspect of Boo is that he could eat other characters and absorb their power, and also kind of gain some aspects of like their personality and physiology. So I'm like, either Ku and Do are going to fuse from the bugs, or Ku and Do are going to fuse because Do, who is clearly very motivated by food, is going to eat Ku. That would just make sense, right? We have these two characters that have the ability to fuse via eating, one that eats a lot, and like they're kind of made from the same stuff, so they're pretty similar anyways. Like, and Do kind of is shown to be like relatively dumb, and so kind of more instinctual. He probably wouldn't even think about like, yeah, I'll just eat this guy, why not? It would just make sense that they would fuse and they would become Kudu, or Majin Kudu, or Majin Dooku even. How funny would that be? Dooku. And then Goku and Vegeta are like, man, we can't beat this guy. We gotta fuse with the fusion bugs, and we make Gogeta or Vegeta or the new bug fusion. And then they just didn't, man. They just didn't do the fusion. Oh, the missed opportunities. Oh my god. So I'm upset about that. They didn't fuse. Goku and Vegeta didn't fuse. Ku and Do didn't fuse. It's just, I'm just frustrated because like I can just see it. I can see the cool Majin fusion, and I can see the cool Goku and Vegeta fusion, especially because both of them have access to Super Saiyan 3 now. It would be the first time we'd ever see a fusion using Super Saiyan 3. How cool would that be? Very, in my opinion. But it didn't happen. So they get to the final fight. The final fight is after they add like fake Ginyu Force, which again, why did they do that? I don't know. Akira Toriyama decision probably. He loves having silly little teams of guys. They have their Ginyu Force, which is not a problem in the slightest, but then the Demon King finds this third eye, the tertiary ocular, whatever they called it, and it boosts his power and insane amount and basically makes him invincible, because anytime he takes damage, it just kind of refreshes him, so then he's good to go, and it like doesn't matter. So they fight him. They all take turns fighting him. Goku fights him. He can't beat him. Vegeta fights him. Can't beat him. They get all of the Dragon Balls because obviously Goku and friends got 2, Arinsu got 1 after Do beat the other one, but then the one dumb character, because they have to have a dumb character, was like, yeah, I'll give you the Dragon Balls, I don't care. Also, Glorio was a traitor. Spoiler alert, Glorio was a friend of Goku and them, helping them through the Demon World, and then was like, just kidding, I've been working for Arinsu this whole time, but, I've really gotten to know you guys, and actually you're pretty chill, so maybe I don't want to do that. They wish on the Dragon Balls. The wish turns everybody back into adults so that they can fight the big bad. I'm blanking on his name because he's like really forgettable. His final form, like he's one of those Akira Toriyama designs where he's just kind of like a silly little guy, and then his final form is not like, I don't know, final Frieza or Perfect Cell or like Kid Buu. He's just like the guy, but just like with muscles. So he looks really dumb. I did not like him at all. I did not like that he was the final villain. It was just kind of bad, in my opinion. But whatever. He's very strong because he's basically invincible, which is what pretty much every Dragon Ball Z character wanted to do. Like, Frieza wanted to be unkillable. Cell could come back from a single cell. Buu could also do that. So it was pretty similar. But seeing Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta fight as an adult was awesome. Loved that. But then we get the thing that, like, I've been making fun of GT, here and there. I've been saying people didn't really like it. When we talk about Dragon Ball GT, there's like one thing that came out of GT that everybody was like, this is sick. And what I'm talking about is Super Saiyan 4. The form after Super Saiyan 3, where it just goes wild. Because Super Saiyan 1, the Saiyans get blonde hair. Super Saiyan 2, it's the same thing, but like a little bit more lightning. Maybe the hair is longer, but it's mainly just like more lightning. Super Saiyan 3, their hair gets crazy long, and they also lose their eyebrows for some reason. Super Saiyan 4, they're like, forget the hair. It's monkey time. And so they get like, because Saiyans, before the Super Saiyan thing, their whole shtick was they could turn into giant monkeys, the Ozaru. And so this was like an aspect of that, where in GT, in order to reach this form, you became an Ozaru, and then you went Super Saiyan on top of the Ozaru. So you were a golden Ozaru, or a big blonde monkey, and then you condensed that power of the Super Saiyan Ozaru into like a regular Saiyan or human form to become Super Saiyan, where you had fur all over your body of a human form, and it was red, and then your hair was black but also extra long, and you had jeans. For some reason, you didn't have a shirt, but you had jeans, because it was the 90s. And so they brought it to Daima. The final fight, Vegeta's struggling as Super Saiyan 3. They can't figure out how to beat this guy. And then Goku's like, oh man, I'm also struggling because I'm also fighting against this guy and I'm struggling. And then the old Namekian, who is like the one who made the Dragon Balls, who's kind of on their side, even though made the fight harder for Vegeta when he was fighting that other guy, was like, nah man, you gotta use your all if you're gonna win this. Namekian powers, and then he shoots him with a little ball, and then Goku's like, what? And then he gets to Super Saiyan 4. Kid Goku Super Saiyan 4. And it's beautiful. This is Akira Toriyama's version of Super Saiyan 4, so it's pretty similar. It's still a hairy guy, monkey man. They grow the tail back also. But his hands are really big for some reason. They just decide to make, like, also because he's a monkey man, I guess he has really big hands. So they make Super Saiyan 4 Kid Goku, and it is hype. It is insanely hype. And eventually, like I said, we get Super Saiyan 3 adult Vegeta. We do then get Super Saiyan 4 adult Goku. And it's majestic. And we get to see him do an incredible Kamehameha. Sean Shamel does an incredible performance in the dub where he said he passed out like twice recording it. It's just like, again, if you're a casual anime viewer, you're probably like, that looks cool. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, you're losing your mind at this. This is something that I was watching it again weekly as it came out. I was sitting on my couch watching this. I was on the edge of my seat. I had my head in my hands. I was like, oh my god. This is peak Dragon Ball. Because again, like, I watched Dragon Ball GT and I'm like, yeah, parts of it definitely sucked. Some of it was cool, but like, whatever. But like, still, Super Saiyan 4 came out, like, I'm pretty sure before I was born. I'm kind of old in the grand scheme of things. Being able to see it now on the big screen, coming out, like, that day in the year of our Lord I think it was 2024, maybe 2025. I don't know. It was just incredible. It was an incredible experience to see that happen. The nostalgia alongside the beautiful modern animation and just getting to see like this, this thing that was like the one of the only aspects of a non-canon Dragon Ball series be brought into the canon of an original Akira Toriyama story. His last story that he ever made was just like, it could bring a tear to your eye. It was just that incredible. All of these aspects coming together to make this beautiful final image for an author that has been making content that I've been watching since, as long as I can remember. People older than, far, like 10 or more years older than me watching the same thing. Kids 10 years younger than me watching the same thing. We can all get together and be like, this is it. This is what Dragon Ball was always meant to be. So we get to see this character of Kid Goku, who's just a silly little guy who enjoys fighting, get to take on an enemy far stronger than himself, build up that energy, and release it in this one final, like, jaw-droppingly stunning attack. It's something that's just so hard to recreate, and it's gonna stick with me. And so I think, even with its flaws, even though Daima is a relatively short series, there are moments where it feels slow. There are parts where I feel like it could have done more, it could have been better, and it fell short. But there are plenty of parts also where I was like, I'm so happy to be alive to watch this, to have seen so many years of Dragon Ball content, for it to end like this. Absolutely beautiful. Now, does that then cause some problems for Dragon Ball Super? Absolutely. Why on earth would Goku fight Beerus and not go Super Saiyan 4? That makes no sense, because as far as we know in the series, because then, the way that it was shown in Dragon Ball Daima was like, it was kind of the Namekian guy that gave Goku the ability to go Super Saiyan 4, but then Vegeta was like, so you just had that for him, and Goku was like, yeah, I've been working on it, but I haven't really had time to, like, do anything with it. So, like, as far as we know, Goku had access to Dragon Ball 4, good lord, I'm tired. He had access to Super Saiyan 4, and then just didn't use it at all in Super? That doesn't make any sense. Also puts to bed all of the debates, especially from Dragon Ball Dragon Ball Super, not Dragon Ball Superhero, whatever that show was that they made for like it was like promotional material for like an arcade game in Japan, where it was just like really stupid. I don't know. I watched that too, but like my god, it's bad. It's like it's in the way that Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku is like decent fan service, is bad fan service. It's like Super Saiyan God future Gohan and like Dark Janemba, and it's so bad. It's so bad. It's like the worst fan fictions all mixed into one. Um, but like, yeah, I don't even. Sorry, that show, if you can call it a show, because it's like 8 minutes, 8 minute episodes, just gets me so heated. Um, I don't even know how we got here, but like, I don't know. Diamond's just cool, right? It was Super that I was talking about. It doesn't make much sense that Goku never used Super Saiyan 4 in Super. But, that's what it was. It puts to bed that whole argument of, like, what's stronger, Super Saiyan 4 or Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, if you want to call it that. Because in that series, the weird promotional video game series, they have like a time patroller Super Saiyan 4 Goku fight against Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and they're like evenly matched. And it's like, what? Because technically, in the chronological order of how the different series came out, you have Dragon Ball, then you have Dragon Ball Z, and then Dragon Ball GT came out, but it was like way in the future because it came out after the end of Z, and the end of Z, like the last episode of Z, was like several years after the previous episode, where we hadn't seen Goku in ages, and Oob became a character, and so Dragon Ball GT was after that last episode where Oob was like a real guy. But then they came out with Super, which technically would, if GT was canon, came out before GT because Oob was still just like a little kid, although Oob is canon now in Super. So technically it would be Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball GT, and if Dragon Ball GT had Super Saiyan 4, that means that Goku didn't have access to that form in all of Super, but then gained access to it. I feel like such a nerd. Oh my god. Look at me ranting about the timeline of a cartoon. Whatever, it's my show. I get to do what I want. You don't want to listen to this? Whatever. But we have other shows on this channel if you want to listen to other stuff. But it would make sense because Super Saiyan 4 chronologically came out after Dragon Ball Super, where they had Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, and technically all of this other stuff now from the manga, like Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, Mastered Ultra Instinct, and whatever Goku currently has, like Black Hair Ultra Instinct. That Super Saiyan 4 would be stronger, but because GT's not canon in these other shows, like this video game series, they can't really make a claim about that without like causing a lot of issues in the fan base. So they're like, it's easier to just say they're evenly matched, you know? They're just, who knows who's stronger? I don't know. Different timelines, different series. They're probably about the same. No, my headphones are turning off again. But now that we know that GT is not canon, but Daima is, and Daima introduced Super Saiyan 4. Now we know Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, everything after that is stronger than Super Saiyan 4. We can put it to bed. Power scalers, if you're out there, if you're listening, that's it. Game over. Akira Toriyama on his deathbed was like, by the way, Super Saiyan 4 are weaker than the Super Saiyan God forms. Boom. Peace out. which is crazy. But yeah. And you know what? Not including the 15 minutes that I recorded in the beginning of this, I'm still so mad that I didn't realize that it stopped recording. I hope this is cohesive. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the drunk ramblings of a man who spends too much time watching anime. But hey, that's what this show is. It's the Weebing Hour, baby. I also didn't fully explain the Weebing Hour as a reference to the Witching Hour, which is like supposed to be 3 a.m. where all the supernatural stuff happens. And wouldn't you know it, on the East Coast, it is just about that time. So that's another thing. And weeb because I talk about anime. But I'm going to talk about other stuff too. I have a lot of thoughts about various things, and I think it would be better to put it out into the world rather than just ramble in my head and talk to myself. That's for my therapist to hear, but this is for you to hear. So let me know what you think. Again, I'd recommend Dragon Ball Daima if you're a Dragon Ball fan. It probably won't make much sense to you if you've never seen any Dragon Ball. You don't have to watch Dragon Ball. As somebody who hasn't finished it, it doesn't really matter. I would recommend Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball GT, you can probably skip. Dragon Ball Super, you can probably skip, but there's some fun moments in it. Dragon Ball Daima, fun. That's my final say on that. If you have more ideas for what you want me to ramble about by myself in the middle of the night, please leave a comment. Let me know. I'm very curious. I have many, many topics already written. I'm probably going to start recording these more often, and I'm also gonna have I'm gonna ask Kevin to make me an actual title screen because I'm bad at graphic design. And it's gonna be confusing that this whole episode says Castbot Conspiracy when it's not a Castbot Conspiracy episode. Yeah, let me know what you think, and I will talk at you all again later. Thank you for listening to Castbot and the Weebing Hour. Bye bye.